Let's get some prize picks in today, guys. The last video did not go well. Went 2 and 4 on these picks. The only ones that hit were Jimmy Butler's under points and Naz Reid's under rebounds. The video before that we went 4 and 2, so about 6 and 6 in the past videos. Not doing too hot, but what was hot was the Discord last night. Look at this cash right here, 25x with some MLB correlation. I literally went over how MLB correlation works in this video right here, and this is what I was using in the Discord. You could see Houston hits, runs, RBIs. We have 2 players on their overs with the opposing pitcher on his under pitcher fantasy score. First of all, these guys are in the batting order next to each other. So I believe Chas was 7, Penna was 8. So obviously these guys are more likely to go over the hits, runs, RBIs together. Why? Because if Chas gets on base, well then Penna has a chance to also get on base, giving Chas a hit and a run, as well as Penna a hit and an RBI. So these 2 cash together, and you can see that's kind of what happened here. We got 4 on Chas, 6 on Penna, and then Bassett went under because Houston was scoring too many runs. He got subbed out earlier, and then you're essentially cashing all these 3 guys together. And then similar thing with the Angels. If the Angels are doing very well, this batting order, again, these guys are close to each other in the batting order. I believe it's like a 2, 3, 5. I'm not exactly sure, but you can see they each cash 3, 2, and 7 here because they're next to each other in the lineup. So if they're scoring a lot of runs on that specific train, well then all these 3 guys cash together, and you can see a nice 200 into 5K. Now, of course, it's on my account because I'm limited, but this is one of my good friends' account, and we also hit this 10x here. Similar concept again. If Boston is not hitting, again, these guys are in the lineup, I believe 6, 7. They both went under the hits, runs, RBIs. And then the opposite, we went Cleveland on the over hits, runs, RBIs, 3 guys in the specific lineup. And then Odegaard was soccer pick, positive EV play. And then a similar one, this was on Tuesday. And you could see Marte on the total bases. This all happened in the first inning. So Marte got a double, I believe it was. So he was on second base. And then Moreno and Walker both got their hits, runs, RBIs within that same inning. So all these 3 guys cashed in one single inning. So you see obviously how powerful it is to stack these guys. And then I also had Davis and Russell here. So Russell on the over points, Davis on the under points, similar to what I do in the YouTube videos. But it is actually already the end of MLB correlation. I literally said in this video 6 days ago. So it lasted a whole 6 days MLB correlation. It's not going to last long because of what happened with NFL correlation. So they obviously nerfed it right away because when you're grabbing 2 guys from the same lineups, obviously they are super correlated. So if I go to Pittsburgh right now, also Washington, just for example, you see that there is a payout shift. This used to pay 5x. Now it's paying 4.75x. And if I go and grab a random NBA player, you would expect a 10x, but you're only getting 9.5x here. And that's exactly what happened in NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf the payouts even more. And the same thing if you go for a 25x, now it's only paying 19x rather than that 25x that this was literally paying yesterday. So of course, PrizePicks is trying to eliminate as many edges as possible, but while it lasted, you know, we got these cashes at least. So this is about a 4K profit day because we played about 14 slips, and on underdog, we lost 5 slips. So minus 500 there, and then a 2.8K investment on a $200 unit at 14 slips. But then you got about 7K back plus any 0.4x's. So that is a 4K in profit on last night, including underdog, where it did not go well and we lost 5 straight slips. I'll always show the losses too, because all that matters is how much profit you're returning, not necessarily how many slips you're hitting. You could have hit 100 2-mans over your time on PrizePicks and still be down in the long run. So that being said, let's get into the slip for today. And also, if you want to join the Discord and start cashing with us, obviously went up pretty nicely last night, 22.2 units. Just join with the first link in the description and we'll get on to the picks. So first of all, I want to go to soccer because I'm absolutely loving this one guy here. Gusto on the under 2.5 tackles. This might mean absolutely nothing to you who don't care about soccer, but let me just explain to you why this is a good pick just in terms of numbers. So if we go to Gusto tackles on Bet365, you see his under is at minus 175. His over is at plus 125. Again, if you're like from Cali or something and you never bet on sportsbooks in your life, you don't know what these plus numbers mean. Look at this. If I bet 175 on Malo Gusto's under 2.5, they're only returning 275, meaning I profit $100. So I only profit $100 on a $175 bet. On his over 2.5, I get 393.75 back, meaning I profit about $200 if his over 2.5 hits. So what this means is that the sportsbook is willing to pay you more if you take his over because they know his over is less likely to happen. They're saying, okay, I'll pay you for his over because the under is much more likely to happen. And if you want to take his under, you're going to have to pay that premium. And it's not in a sense that you're paying more for it, but it's that you're getting less money back for the same amount of wagers. You see 275 here, and then again 393.75 here. So you're getting an extra $120 if you take the over. So why does that transfer over on PrizePicks? Because on PrizePicks, whether I take the more or the less, I'm getting the exact same payout. So obviously I want to go with the outcome that is more likely to happen. In this case, it's the less. And we know that because the sportsbooks are pricing this more expensive on the less. So you never want to take the more here. It makes absolutely no sense because on a sportsbook, you could get paid way more than you are on PrizePicks. So you want to be with the less. It's the exact same concept with the demons and goblins. PrizePicks gives you demons, and look at that. They boost the payout to 3.75x compared to 3 because they know the demon is less likely to happen. So they're willing to give you a higher return for that. That's the exact same concept we just went over with his Gusto pick. So you want to be on his under. And we could actually translate these numbers into percentage. So you see Gusto on the tackles, minus 175 is one leg, and the other leg is 125. So minus 175 essentially translates, once you take out the edge of the sportsbooks, to a 58.88% chance that Gusto goes under this 2.5 tackles prop. Now you might think that's not a lot because you're used to seeing locks on Twitter that hit a 90% hit rates. 58% is a great hit rate. Basically, if we play this thousands of times, this under is more likely to happen than not at a 59% rate, and that is exactly what you're looking for when you're playing on PrizePicks. That's exactly what you're doing when you're looking at these props. You're essentially looking, is Doncic more likely to go over his points or less likely? And then in this case, we know that Gusto is less likely. That is the first pick. Now this next pick is going to be over in the NBA. We're going with Jalen Johnson on his under 8.5 rebounds. And again, the reason we're going with this, no research, just based off sportsbooks odds. We see that he is set at 7.5 rebounds on these sports books. We're getting him at 8.5. We're getting him at 8.5 rebounds. That's a massive difference between 7.5 and 8.5. We're not talking about a point. We're not talking about a bucket here. We're talking about a whole rebound. There's much more variability in getting a rebound. So you'll see Jalen Johnson land at exactly 8 very often. So there's a massive difference between the 8.5 and the 7.5. And just to show you, over 7.5 is at minus 130. So minus 130 means about 52%. His 10 rebounds is at plus 210. So if we go and show you how much you're getting paid on, let's say, a $130 bet, you see you're only making $100 profit on this one. If you go and bet on his 10 rebounds, which is only 2 rebounds away, right? It's over 9.5, let's say. You're getting paid $403 on a $130 bet. Every additional rebound you're getting is an extra edge. And of course, we're getting at 8.5. So just based off that pricing discrepancy, I know that this pick is a good pick. We're going to be with Jalen Johnson's under 8.5 rebounds. And when he most likely gets bumped to 8 later in the day, you'll understand why this is a good pick, because PrizePicks is bumping him down because the 8.5 is too good to take the under on. So you want to be all over Jalen Johnson's under 8.5 rebounds. Now moving on, I'm going to go to this Golden State game. I'm going to grab Steph Curry on his over 26.5 points, and I'm going to be stacking this. I'm going to be stacking this with another player from Golden State. It's going to be Draymond Green on the over 22.5 PRA. So I'm really liking this game state here. If we go and check who they're up against, the Houston Rockets at home, -4 spread to the Warriors and a 228 total. That's a pretty decent pace game, especially for the Rocket, who kind of have a slower pace. We're expecting a tight game with a lot of minutes for the starters, meaning we're expecting both Curry and Draymond to go over their respective props. Of course, Draymond's PRA is going to be mainly composed of rebounds and assists. Obviously, a couple points here. His points line is set at 8, but for the most part, it's going to be the RA filling this up. And what that means is if Draymond's rebounding a lot and getting a lot of assists, Curry is more likely to be getting points, because Curry is going to score some assisted shots, and we're hoping a decent chunk of those assists are going to be coming from Draymond Green. Along with that, the longer the game is and the more points there are in this game, the more likely that both these guys go over the props. So if I show the actual juice on these plays, you'll see -115 on each side of Curry. That basically means his over 26.5 points is about 50-50. So why are we taking a 50-50 prop? Because we're stacking up with Draymond, who does have slight juice towards his over. So -120 here compared to his under at -110. So we have to pay more to get the same payout on his over. And because we're stacking these guys, it's more likely that both of them go over together. And when we're making 6 flexes, we don't really care about that 5 out of 6. We're going for that 6 out of 6. So we want to create a slip that's most likely to hit that 6 for 6. And when you're stacking these two players together, you kind of get that relationship. I'm going to go with 2 White Sox players. We're going to go with Andrew and Louis here. If we're going to check the lineups in the MLB, you can see they are in the same batting order. So 1 and 3 here. It's not 1-2, but 1-3 is still pretty decent. And if we check the actual Chicago White Sox game over in the MLB, they are not the favorite. So +150, -180 for the Royals. So Royals are expected to kind of take this game more easily than not. We could also see the team props to see what the White Sox are projected. So under 3.5 runs seems like the more likely outcome. And honestly, this White Sox team has not been too hot this season. They're 0-4. They scored 3 runs here, 2 runs here, 6 runs here, 0 and 0, 2 games. So obviously we're going for a 0-run game. If that so happens, it's more likely that these guys go under. So you can see in this 9-0 game here, Andrew got nothing and Louis also got nothing. We could even go to this 3-2 game here where they only got 2 runs. Andrew got 1, Louis got 1. Again, because they're close in the batting order, it's more correlated. So in the first inning, if none of these guys hit, and just in general, if the White Sox are not hitting, there's going to be less at-bats, and there's going to be less opportunity for these guys to go over their hits, runs, RBIs. So this is going to be the full 6-man slip here, a mix of soccer, NBA, and MLB. Good luck, everyone.